G'day YouTube, welcome back to my channel Bonsai Works. I got a real treat for you today. Well, I've got a massive, huge 3-trunk juniper prostrata procumbens that I am working on for a client, a customer. Now, it's a big tree. You see the size of probably about 1 meter tall, I reckon at least. And probably that wide, almost 1 meter wide, and with this trunk, lower trunk here. Now, this tree has been through some, I guess, a little bit of neglect, but I'm going to restore its health and vigor and have a look at restyling, not totally restyling, but kind of reinvigorating this tree and bringing out its best features and change, maybe just detail wiring, making it nice and clean, making it nice and really look styled rather than overgrown. It looks a little bit overgrown at the moment. Lots of foliage everywhere, really big areas to work with. My apex has gone crazy. We're starting to lose this trunk a little bit. We're starting to lose areas in here. How do we deal with that? The trunk's all flaky. You can't see the deadwood, things like that. So I want to start to really bring out the best of the tree. Now there's two trunks here that are alive. There's one trunk here that's dead in the back at the moment. That's how the tree came. So let's work on what we can. At the moment, the other things I can see, some areas have got more light than other areas as well. So some areas are a bit weaker, some areas are a bit stronger. So I want to even all that growth. But first things first, when we've got a tree like this, I want to really focus on the bark and the deadwood. So this trunk that's dead has really got an ugly color to it. It's very looking very dark and you can't really see it. So I want to clean that trunk first, clean the deadwood, clean any other bits of deadwood, and then start to peel this bark off this tree. Now the reason I want to peel the bark off is I want to see the reddish part of the trunk, so the live veins. That helps me also identify if there's more deadwood in certain areas, more shari that we can create. So if there's more shari we can create, the better. So we'll work on that next. So first things first, clean the trunk, clean the deadwood, clean this dead trunk, clean the rest of the deadwood, and start to work on the trunks and trying to identify where the live veins and dead veins, and start to work on that. So all I do with the deadwood is to clean it up, I just use water with a toothbrush. It usually gets it pretty clean, and then I'll lime sulphur it as well, so make it really nice and stand out. So that's the first step. All the deadwood, I'm going to work on that, and we'll have a look what it looks like. So I've completed at least the first part of this project of cleaning the deadwood and lime sulphuring them, making them nice and white. They're still drying off a bit. I've also exposed the beautiful reddish bark on these old junipers. It's really come up nicely. I'll probably do a bit more work on getting them nice and red, just removing some of the bark, but the majority of it's done, especially down here. So you're seeing those. So that's the process I start with. Now we're up to designing the tree, or redesigning it and wiring, etc. Now my biggest issue is over here, this straight part of the trunk. This top bit's kind of dying off, and I've got this very straight part here. I've got this nice lovely branch at the back here that I'm thinking about using as well, but I'm undecided about that branch. So when I'm undecided about that branch, I work on another part of the tree. So where do I work on? Let's work on from the bottom up as always. So I'm going to work on this lowest branch now. It's a nice low branch. It's already had the first primary wiring done pretty well. Secondary wiring is pretty good too. Probably just reapply the secondary, and then it's a lot of tertiary wiring out the little ends of them all, and pads, and getting it nice and refined looking. It's had a lot of work done already to it, so it's been great. So there's not as much wiring I need to do. Still lots of fine wiring, but the majority of primary wiring has been done. I do want to expose a little bit more of this area, so I might bring these around a bit more this way, just to expose that first half of the beautiful trunk, beautiful deadwood, and the dead trunk at the back. Just exposing a bit more, and that's how I'll progress. So start with wiring off these branches here. There's a couple of them here to do, one and two, so pretty decent size. And then I'll move around to maybe the back, and then work my way up. Now when I'm at a point where if I've designed this whole side of the tree, the main tree, I can then look at how this fits in and what will work best. So that's how I'll be approaching this tree. So when you're not sure, take your time. Don't cut things just yet. Don't change things just yet. It might work out. So work on areas that you know you need, or know where you're going with it, so you can progress. So I'm going to go away and wire this branch and start wiring the tree. So it looks going really well at the moment. I've wired this first main branch, which is made up of 3 possibly larger ones in this section. And you can see the work of creating pads that has been done, fanned out, continually fanning out the branch, and then creating pads as you go up, and getting that symmetry going. I've also wired the back branch in here, so a bit of work's been done in terms of getting the layers happening, especially at the front. Now I've wired a lot of the branches now that are now forming a lot of the layering. In the back as well, back branches are done, side branches. One of the most important bits was this branch here. Now previously I believe it was probably covering this gin. Now I've dropped it lower, and you should be able to see this gin come out a bit more. I've lowered this branch just below that line, so the gin can actually be visible. Layering again, padding out, fanning out. It's all fanned and padded out. So that's the process. I really want to expose this gin a bit more coming out of the bit here. I might have to drop it a little bit more. I'm just contemplating that, dropping a little bit more as well, just to give you a bit more visibility of that gin. Very important to see that gin. So we'll keep working through the tree. Now I'm working towards the apex. Lots of branching, so we've thinned out quite a bit. When I thin out, it's pretty much just cleaning out anything growing down, crotch growth, growth that's too long, that doesn't fit the fan in shape. So what I'm going to do now, I thought was, rather than see a whole transformation, I want to concentrate on the apex. I have fully wired this whole apex. I haven't positioned the branches. Now I want to actually go through with you how I start to position all the branching. It's very, you can probably see the shape. I've cleaned out the branches as well, cleaned out fluff and so on and so forth. But now it's just trying to put all the layers where we would need them to go. So it's almost a bit creative, but also just trying to find space for all the branching. So I'll probably have to fix up this area here first. Make sure that's all positioned nicely. So we kind of created this pad here. There's just this one a bit below and this one just a bit above. Might move him across into there. So once you've finally fully wired the tree, and you know me, I'm all about wiring. Wire the whole tree. That's how you get the good trees. Now I see this branch in here, it's quite long. I want to actually bend it in and twist it in a bit more and shorten it. Got to shorten it so that it fits in the gaps. Probably can sit in there. There's a bit of space in here that I need to fill, so I start to go twist around, trying to start to fill these areas. So we just keep creating spaces all the way along. So he's got a nice bit of there. It's a bit of fluff hanging down. We don't need all this foliage. Keep tweaking. Now I need to actually get some branching in here in this section. So we've got some nice long branches that we're going to keep. When I run workshops with other clubs and so on, I always I'm keen, and I always harass almost every person doing the workshop to actually fully wire their tree for me. Because if you fully wire it, then we can go through this process of actually positioning and showing you how we can position things. So yeah, when I was recently in Perth, I was really hounding the guys, why everything, all your branches, you know, so that I can come back. And there's a few guys who actually got through all the wiring and were able to create a really amazing tree from, you know, in a workshop session. So really important, fully wire your trees. You can probably see it coming together now. Now that's all I really do, just keep going through the process, filling in the gaps. See, there's a gap in here. I might bring this big branch, put it around into here, fill in this gap, because it's quite a large gap. And the smaller ones can probably go over this side. You know, and then I'll look at trying to put the apex in, and it should be pretty cool process. Just, this is me quickly doing it so you can see, and then I'll show you the final result. You quickly go and find the spots for everything. You know, find the spots, and you start to create the full silhouette. Make sure you put the lower ones before you do the next ones. That's the process. Fill in the gaps where you see the gaps with branches that you've wired. And that's pretty much it, and I'll finish this off and I'll show you the final product of this section, and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, so pretty good, well placed with that part of the tree. You can see how good it looks now. I think it looks beautiful, just my opinion. Really come up really well. It's got a lot of branching, a lot of areas to fill in, a lot of beautiful layering and so on. Now we're up to here. What are we going to do with this branch? Oh, it's a tricky one. This is my biggest issue, and I think it's getting really long at the moment. This is actually dying off as well, so there's a bit of an apex that's come back in. It's kind of dying off. I'm considering what I'm going to do now. I think this branch is going to be the most important branch with how we go about doing anything with this. I need to actually be able to move this around and more into the front. I think this branch at the moment is pretty much perpendicular, so it runs parallel, pretty much directly parallel. I'd like it a bit forward, if anything. So if I have this coming a bit more forward, bringing this around from underneath and bringing it into here to block this, maybe I can then use these, or I just use that. I think that's where I'm at the moment. Just use this, or use this and that together. So first thing I'm going to do is try and wire this one round and into this spot in here to try and block this section. It just looks unattractive at the moment. What am I going to do with it? I'm not 100% sure. The length isn't too bad now that the tree's styled. This is a very interesting branch. Could be very cool to have maybe this layering, and that one over here could be really nice, but we've got to get that one across into here. So that's what I'm going to go and do, see if I can bend it around, which I should be able to, and we'll come back and have a look how it's positioned. So I've completed what I think should be the final design on this tree. I've just used that back branch and I've moved it around forward, and I'll come in and show you a close-up in a minute, but I want to talk about the size comparison now with this little cascading tree following the flow of this tree. I think they really blend well together. Having this extra bit long on the end, even if I try and twist these down back here, the branch is still going to be too far out here, too far gone, and so on. What I am considering, so I think it's pretty safe to say they're not going to be there, and the rest of the tree will actually really flow nicely. Now, what I'm planning to do is see how this gin flows through and out into this way. I think this will make a really interesting gin, also following the same process, having the gin sticking out a little bit out here, and I think it'll be quite nice. But yes, so the big job was moving this lower branch from behind up and around and into this area. So this now sits above and in front of this heavy branch down here. It's almost hidden, so you can't really see it. So yeah, I'm contemplating whether I have a extra long gin or a small gin. So that's the next job. But let me come in and show you the work I did to try and get that around, because that's more important. So from front on, you can see the little cascading branch coming down, and now we've got an apex in here. Now if I try and come under here, you can see I heavily wired this branch. The key is to heavy wire and close coils. I've got a little guide wire in there that's pulling that branch closer. So that was at the back. Now it's come over that branch and sitting should be just not touching. See, it's not touching that branch. and it's coming forward. And that was the hardest bit. That was the hardest bit of that job. And then it was just fine wiring the rest of the tree. So as I mentioned, I think it's pretty safe to say these are going. I know everyone likes to watch the big cuts, so you can see how it all happens when it disappears. But this huge extension, even if I tried wiring, wouldn't work. So initially I just cut off the main top bits of foliage, leaving some leaving some deadwood. I find the thicker branches rather than the small ones on this. And now I'll play with how I'm going to create with this gin. So I'm going to go away and gin that whole piece. It's quite a long piece as well. I'm going to keep the long bit at the bottom. Hopefully it works, but I think this is the most interesting bit here, most interesting part. And I think it'll blend well with this. So very similar, twisting 3 branches here, still got 3 branches here, and I'll see how it all plays together in the design. So I happily completed the restyle and restoration of this juniper. It's coming along really well. I think it looks really good, much improved. Just the deadwood has to dry out. You see it's a bit yellow still. That's the 3rd coat I've put on it now. Just get that really white, just needs a bit of time to dry out and get nice and white. Now, other than that, this tree's looking pretty awesome. Now, as it says in the title of this video, this tree is for sale. It is for sale. So if you're in Melbourne especially, and you want a feature tree in your garden that really stands out, or an exhibition quality tree, this is an exhibition quality tree. It can be in any exhibition in Melbourne pretty much. It will go down perfectly. It'll look great. The tree just needs a repot next season. If you're in Melbourne, I'm happy to give you a hand with the repot if you need it. It just needs to come out of this pot, repot it, clean the roots, new soil back in this pot. So nothing really too hard. If you're interstate, you can buy this pot, but you'll have to be able to pick it up. Now, if you're going to come pick this tree up, I've taken quick measurements, and I did measure it up. It's 1 metre from the base of the pot to the top, and 1 metre this way too. So you need a good metre by metre, I guess, for this tree, especially if you've got an SUV. I think it'll fit fine. Anything bigger, even perfect. Standard cars, not convinced it will fit through, but you can give it a go. You might knock the top off, but again, if you're keen, here's the tree. It looks really good. Happy to answer any questions you have. If you're interested in this tree, please email me. That's the best way to get in contact with me. I prefer to just tell you over email. As I said, if you've got a really nice backyard and you just want to feature bonsai in there, this goes perfectly. If you've got a restaurant or something like that with an outdoor area, this will look awesome in there as well as a feature. So really good ways to feature this tree. Again, exhibition quality tree, straight into an exhibition anywhere in Melbourne, and anywhere in state as well, if you can. Alright guys, that's it for me. Hope you enjoyed the restoration of this old juniper. It's looking really nice now, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.